through the presentations and then have a short Q&A as well as closing remarks. So then to get us started, I'd like to turn it over to Parmesh Shah, Global Lead Data, Digital Agriculture and Innovation at the World Bank, and then on to Stuart Collis, Senior Program Officer for Digital Solutions and Ag Dev at the Gates Foundation for their opening remarks. Parmesh, over to you.
Thanks a lot, Sonia. Much appreciate you taking the effort to organize this session. So I would like to express warm welcome to everyone who's attending this session. We consider this is an important one. I think we now have a very large portfolio in the World Bank investing in data, digital technologies, innovation ecosystems for agriculture. And that portfolio almost runs into current portfolio is around $2 billion investment, around more than 70 projects across many countries right now. And what we felt when this portfolio grew, that three problems we faced. One, a lot of efforts were there, but they were disjointed and not coordinated. Second, there was no overarching kind of a strategy or a vision under which these investments were being done. And the third was that the institutional architecture which you need to develop digital agriculture, the ecosystem, which involves people from data field, technology field, agriculture, research and all, was also not fully, I would say, developed. There is no institutional architecture to go with that. And that's the time when I think we, along with Gates and BCG, started thinking about it. And I think some of the initial work done gave us the hope that we could bring a lot of disparate and uncoordinated efforts under an umbrella. The second part was that there was not a standardized diagnostic to see what is already available in the country. And we started investing without diagnostic. Doesn't make sense. So I would say that the reason we went into it, we wanted a particular strategy or a framework or a programmatic vision to accompany our investments. And I think what you will hear today from various people in the call is how that investment in a roadmap allows you to invest systematically in a coordinated way and also help you bring all the stakeholders which have not come together to develop a coordinated implement. We are not developing this roadmap just for preparing a document. We want this to be invested. We want this roadmap to be implemented. And I think that's very important that I'm very happy to see that a lot of our task team leaders from the bank are here. Baba John, warm welcome to you. I see Malawi is definitely a very strong candidate for the roadmap for us. There are many other countries which have shown interest. And so it's a knowledge learning event to help people think through why they should invest, how they should invest, and what are some early lessons and examples we have learned from. And we have many collaborators in this across the countries where we have invested in states in India, in Ethiopia, Kenya. I think we have many collaborators now in this, and you will also learn a little bit more about that. So over to you, Sonia, and for the next part of that. Thank you very much for joining us today. And please feel free to go and load a lot of documents, which Sonia and others will tell you at the end of their presentations. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you, Parmesh. Stuart, over to you.
Thanks, Sonia. Thanks, Parmesh. And thanks for the World Bank for the partnership on this really important work. The Digital Agriculture Roadmap started some time ago as a diagnostic to assess the investment opportunities in, say, increasingly very busy digital agriculture sector. I'm sure many of you experienced that period where there's just so many startups. I think in the last 10 years in sub-Saharan Africa, there's been 750 startups, and they've raised around $1.5 billion. So it was difficult for donors like ourselves, World Bank and Gates Foundation and others, as well as governments, to make well-informed choices. Not only that, but not enough attention was being paid to the digital rails. It's what we would refer to now as digital public infrastructure for those ag tech companies to build on and scale their solutions. So, in fact, the World Bank and Gates Foundation both have fairly major initiatives within our organizations focused on digital public infrastructure now. So I think this work ties into that, but it sort of goes beyond that in that these DARs, or digital agriculture roadmaps, have really evolved as an essential tool to laying out a well thought out plan for governments, donors, NGOs, agtech startups in a country to align on what are the agricultural goals and targets for that country, and then making a plan for how to both build and fund the digital rails, the digital infrastructure, the services, and the solutions to reach those goals. So this is where we feel it's something useful for the broader community. We, of course, have our focus geographies at the Gates Foundation, and the World Bank has a broader set of countries that they're interested in. But I think making this an open source digital public good will hopefully allow others to use these tools to build out their own roadmaps. Especially as we move into the age of AI, these data sets and digital infrastructure, they're going to be essential for ensuring that these new technologies are equitably distributed. So just as a specific example, some of the work I'm now focused on is artificial intelligence-driven agricultural advisory services, which can, of course, very impactful with some of the new tools we have on generative AI and language models and the ability to reach people that have digital literacy and language literacy barriers to adoption of digital services. But if we don't have those farmer registries, or in fact an entire agri-stack in place, it's much harder to scale these types of services. So we hope that this playbook enables others to leverage this work, apply it in other countries. And we look forward to seeing more digital agriculture roadmaps organically emerge from this work over the coming years. Thank you. Over to you, Sonia.
Great. Thank you so much, Stuart. I think we have, okay, I think the audio is working. So if folks are having trouble, unfortunately, it might be the connection on your end. But please, if anything cuts out again, let us know in the chat and we'll continue to monitor it. Great. So before we get into the examples, we wanted to share a bit of introduction on the Digital Ag Roadmap Playbook that we have developed in partnership with the Gates and the World Bank, and with input from at least many of you on the call. As both Parmesh and Stuart mentioned, one of our goals is really to bring this approach to more countries or subnational states and counties. And to do that, we really wanted to sort of bring together the approach that we have been using in different places, the variations thereof, as well as the resources, the tools, and the templates and the learnings that we've picked up over the last few years in developing this into a playbook that is now on the World Bank website and publicly accessible to everybody. We'll share a link to that shortly. So if we go to the first page here, this is, I think, an audience that is well familiar with what digital ag is and what it's important. I think as Parmesh and Stuart mentioned, the goal here is really to help drive clarity on what are the country priorities, as well as how to facilitate coordination across the wide range of disparate initiatives that's often happening, so that both policymakers as well as funders and investors can actually work together in the same direction to reduce the duplication of effort that's sometimes happening today. So if we go to the next page, what is a digital agriculture roadmap? You'll see two examples of this very shortly, but really the intent is it is meant to be a strategy, an investment plan, as well as an implementation plan for a country or subnational to guide the transformation of the ag sector and food system using digital technologies. And so I think these three different components are actually distinct and all equally important. So the strategy portion helps to set the vision, the priorities, the sort of goals of what the country is prioritizing and trying to achieve with digital agriculture. The investment plan helps to lay out, okay, what are the specific initiatives? What are the resources that are needed? And what types of funders and investors might come in to bring those resources? And then the implementation plan helps to define what's the governance structure, the set of, who owns it and who will advise it and be a part of advancing on these initiatives, as well as what is the cadence and how will we track progress along the way. So I think we really, part of what the approach brings is it's not just a strategy document. It's really meant to be all three of these components in order to address the challenges that we see. And really, as AgriConnect has come online for the World Bank and others, we see the DAR as a really great tool that countries can use to support AgriConnect planning. And I know Hada will talk more about how this is already being implemented in Kenya. So at a very high level, just to talk about what that approach is to hit all of these three components. Well, first of all, before I get into that, I think there's a few differences that I've already noted between the DAR approach and some other approaches. One is that it's really meant to build upon existing strategies, existing policies that are already out there. Two is that it's very use case driven, right? So we're not starting with, bring all the data together, but rather define what we want to use the data for first, and then think about how to build the data and the infrastructure and the stack that's needed to support that. And then, as I said already, an orientation towards what are the investments that are needed and what are the structures that we actually need for implementation in order to achieve the impact that the country is looking for. So then the next page outlines the high-level steps to developing the DAR. As always, things look very linear on the page, and the reality is it's quite iterative. We make a lot of adjustments along the way. But we start with a diagnostic assessment to assess, what's already out there, what's the maturity and the state of the digital ag ecosystem, how much of the infrastructure and enabling environment is already in place to kind of establish where a country is today. Then we work with key stakeholders, whether including government, private sector, ag tech, to prioritize use cases. So what's the full set of use cases that folks are working on, and what are the most important ones for achieving the goals for the country in the near term, and then in the longer term based on impact and feasibility and maturity. Then there's the vision development as well, which is defining, okay, what is the vision and the ambition? What are really the target impacts that we're trying to achieve with the DAR? And then we get into the initiative, specific initiative development. So what are those priority initiatives? What is the sequencing? What are the milestones that we're trying to hit? So that comes together into the roadmap. And then last of all is the implementation as well as the investment planning. So what is the business or impact case for each of the initiatives? What's the level and type of resourcing that's needed? What's the governance structure that will actually implement and see this through? Throughout, and many of you may have participated in some of the convenings that we've held or workshops or roundtables that we've held, we found that early and often engagement with all parts of the ecosystem, from funders to startups, is really critical to making sure that this is really something that's owned by the stakeholders and the actors in the country, and not something that is, thrown in from afar. So we've developed, yep, great, thank you. We have developed and deployed this approach over the past several years in different formations across Africa, notably in Ethiopia and Kenya, which we'll talk about, as well as in Odisha State in India. And we've done, or others have done, ecosystem assessments or diagnostics in more countries than that. So then on the next page here, this gives you an overview of the playbook itself, which is a full document and set of resources that you all have access to. So if you scan the QR code there, or I think Sunil put the link in the chat already, there's a few different components to the playbook. So first of all, there's just an overview of what the DAR is, what the approach looks like. Then there is actually a step-by-step guide for each of those 5 steps that I outlined. There are specific how-tos, adjustments you can make in different contexts, as well as learnings and best practices and tools and templates and resources that you can use for each of those steps, as well as what the outputs could look like. We've captured the lessons that we've learned through the various processes, as well as detailed case studies. And then last of all, the full resource toolkit. So the set of reference materials, reports, profiles, as well as a lot of the frameworks and the tools and the templates that we have used. Things including a use case library that you can build from, templates to outline specific initiatives, as well as example work plans, both for the DAR development as well as implementation and implementation structures. Very quickly to answer, I see a question in the chat about why Nigeria is not part of the countries that can benefit. I think Nigeria is very much part of the set of countries that could benefit from this. I know that the Gates Foundation a few years ago engaged in an initial kind of diagnostic and ecosystem assessment exercise. And then we are actually in discussion with the teams there on potentially moving forward with a DAR development as well. So that was definitely not intended to be excluded. And then we will also very happy to share a copy of the slides. And I think the webinar is being recorded as well for everybody to use as reference. Great. And then I think our last page here is here are the resources. So you can access the DAR playbook. You can actually read the Ethiopia Digital Ag Roadmap online, and some contact information here as well. We'll talk more about this at the end. But without further ado, I'd like to hand it over to Dr. Giram, if you are able, to go through the Ethiopia story, which I think is very advanced and has moved into implementation already.
Okay, thank you, Sonia. Just let me share my screen. Okay, it's already there. So as I mentioned, Dr. Mandafro was supposed to present this, and due to his assignment for the COP32 preparation, he is not here. So I will try to present as much as possible like him. Okay, so next slide. So the digital agriculture roadmap actually based on another roadmap that was established in 2022. That roadmap was only focusing on digital advisory and extension services. We call it the Digital Agriculture Extension and Advisory Services roadmap. It focused only the extension part, but since the digital agriculture is not only related to extensions, the discussion came to come up with a holistic digital agriculture roadmap that covers the entire value chain, and solution areas and enabling initiatives were identified. So the entire framework was especially for the solution areas was based on the 6 areas, and the sixth one is actually the initiatives and the solutions that were adopted as part of the digital advisory and extension roadmap. Next slide. So the roadmap development actually started in January 2024. So there were a number of convenings, initiatives, and so on. But the main component for the success of this roadmap development is the establishment of the steering committee, which is led by the minister himself, and every state minister and other decision makers were part of this steering committee. There was also a technical committee that is engaged frequently with the developers. Then in March, there was a national
Did we
sorry, can you hear
back? Yes, I think you're back now.
Okay. So in March 2024, the first national convening was done. That was used to socialize the DAR, and to prioritize use cases. Since there are a number of use cases that are identified, one of the key principles of the DAR approach is prioritizing the solution. So we involved several stakeholders to prioritize the use cases based on the existing situation in the country. Then in April, after the prioritization, April 24 was the third steering committee meeting to align with the priority use cases and initiatives. Then the second convening was in May with different partners, again to get some reviews on the finalization of the document. We had also discussion with funding organizations, as Sonia was mentioning. Getting input from the funding organizations is also important. One of the purposes of the DAR is also to identify the investment or the funding sources and so on. And February 4th, 2025 was the official launch of the DAR. And in June, the PMU, the Project Management Unit, was set up in the Ministry of Agriculture to help the Ministry of Agriculture prepare for the implementation and rolling out of the priority use cases and initiatives. Even if the launch is in February 2025, there were a number of use cases that were under implementation, because some of these were started as part of the digital agriculture and extension advisory services roadmap. So this is how it looks. The work, it was iterative, and a number of decision makers, stakeholders, partners were involved in the development of the DA. And the partners are from the public sector, from development partners, and the private sector, because again, another principle that is used for this development was empowering the private sector in the implementation process. So the private sector was also involved, and also different stakeholders from the public sector were invited. Next. So we have used these three approaches, or these three steps. The first one was the diagnostics, then the ecosystem diagnostics, to identify what is already there and what is a missing gap and what are the priorities. And once the ecosystem assessment was done, the roadmap development was conducted. I think Sonia was mentioning the vision setting and all those steps. They are part of this process as well. And this one, the development is really an iterative process, because different groups may have different kind of ideas, priorities, and so on, in order to reflect the most important components. This process was iterative. And then the next stage is implementation plan development, and the the identified priority use cases and initiatives are actually, there were implementation plans that are developed, and even that are being developed now as well. Next. So this the DAR is from 2025 up to 2032. It's 8 years. When we include the initiatives from the DAR, the digital extension part, it will be a 10 years program together. And it is divided in two phases. The first phase is building the digital foundation. So we are working on the most highly prioritized use cases, and also the priority initiatives or enabling initiatives that actually has to be in place in order to for the use cases to be successful. For example, if we have a farmer profile and the land information is very good, then we can provide loan and other services from the solution. So the enabling initiatives are also prioritized. So in the phase one, we have identified these initiatives, and in phase two, there will be other initiatives that has to be implemented. If you would like to get the soft copy of the DAR document, here is a QR code. You can just scan it and have a detailed look at the entire roadmap document. Next. So the PMU is set up at the Ministry of Agriculture, the project management unit, to help or to support the implementation of the roadmap in June. And it had three roles. The first one is the coordination. One of the challenges of the Ethiopian agricultural ecosystem, digital ecosystem, is there are a number of stakeholders that are involved in uh, digital agriculture works. So one of the roles of the PMU is coordinating these different stakeholders. The second one is monitoring and evaluation, the tracking the progress and so on. And finally, capacity building, so that at the end of the day, the Ministry of Agriculture could establish a working and functional digital agriculture unit, so that all the digital tasks are laid from the ministry. Next. Finally, what are the prioritized use cases, and what is the current status? So in terms of use cases, one of the use cases that was prioritized is accessing better market and buyers. So this is linking farmers with markets through digital technologies such as e-commerce and other linkage tools. And we have set up we have started implementing a project called the Digital Market Linkage Platform, where we plan to connect the buyers and sellers using digital tools, and mostly reducing the number of middlemen that do not add value to these transactions. And this is being implemented. It is supported by the World Bank through the Rural Connectivity for Food Security Program, and it is being implemented in collaboration with the Ministry of Trade and Regional Integration, the Ministry of Urban and Infrastructure, and Ministry of Agriculture. The other one is track and trace inputs. This is making the distribution of inputs efficient by reducing wastage and leakage, and also timely delivery of these inputs to the farmers. Particularly, we give attention to the fertilizers. They are sensitive and they have to arrive on time so that the farmers could use them for production. So there is an initiative that is being implemented by the Ministry of Agriculture and ATI. Delivering timely intervention. So this is supporting farmers by tracking and monitoring disease outbreaks, weather, adverse weather, and so on. In this way, we are heavily relying on AI, or we are planning to rely on AI. So we have started several initiatives in this regard. The first one is developing AI-powered knowledge-based and advisory service to supplement the already existing 8028 Farmers Hotline. So 8028 Farmers Hotline is the currently available hotline which provides IVR based advisory to farmers. But this is now going to be empowered using AI technologies. We are also building, we are partnering with COS from India with Open AgriNet or AgriStack kind of implementation. The fourth one is credit, and we are running a number of access to credit and insurance programs in collaboration with JICA, with the support of other partners like Danida, and this is particularly focusing on associating our existing farmer profile information with the banking sector so that banks can provide access to credit for farmers. So currently one POC project is going on in collaboration with the Cooperative Bank of Oromia. Next. So this will be my last slide. These will be the initiatives. The first one are the use cases, but these ones are the enabling initiatives that will pave the way for successful implementations or successful rollout of the use cases. The first one is the farmer profiles. We have a number of databases, but there is no uniqueness to it. So in this project, we are partnering with the National ID program to link the farmers information with the national ID so that we have one unique data per farmer in our database, so that we'll be able to provide this information. So we are now working on the National Farmer Profile Initiative with the support of Gates Foundation. Stuart is helping us here. We have collected more than 60,000 farmers information that is uniquely identified and deduplicated. In terms of number of farmers, there are thousands of data points here and there, or millions in some cases, but the uniquely deduplicated data elements are now 60,000 from the field. The second one is digital kiosk. If we provide digital services to the farmers, our farmers should have a means to get information, and they may not afford digital. Okay. So they may not afford their own digital services or digital devices and so on. So the digital kiosk project is actually designed to set up digital kiosks where farmers could get information. Again, this is being supported by the World Bank. We are setting up 150 kiosks. Data stack with API is what I mentioned, the Open AgriNet, and with COS and Triple ITB with the help of Gates Foundation, we are setting up the data stack so that all the things that we build here will be presented as a DPG or DPI so that anyone can connect to it and use it. DA and farmer literacy is also very interesting concept that we are working on. We are developing different tools that can be used to train DS and farmers. Finally, the digital dedicated digital ag team with the support of the PMU is already underway, and we are also we have also at ATI a dedicated digital agriculture team that we use. So thank you. This is all I have. If you have further questions, I'll be around.
Thank you, Dr. Garam. I think there is one question in the chat it may make sense to cover now. From Bob, it says, could you comment on the cost of digital services to small-scale farmers in Ethiopia?
It's a very interesting question. So it's usually costly to provide digital services to smallholder farmers. Basically, one of the challenges is the device availability. The data cost is also very high as compared to other countries. Because of these things, in order to provide a reliable solution, you may have to go with your own phone, for example, or you may have to set up a means for them to set up to access your services. So these kind of things will increase the cost of providing these services to digital to smallholder farmers. And the paradox again, the other side of the problem is the farmers may not be able to pay for some of the services. For example, the 8028 advisory is free. Ethio Telecom, our telecom company, is providing this service for free for ETI. If they start charging ATI, then the cost will be very high, and we may not be able to support this service in the long run. So, yes, it is a bit expensive.
Thank you, Dr. Garam. Others may be able to comment on this as well. I think the cost of digital services may be less expensive than traditional extension, but it is not costless, and so there's still, as you pointed out, cost involved. Thank you for sharing the story in Ethiopia. Please, I'll continue to add questions in, and we'll address them during Q&A. But now I'd like to turn it over. So I think Ethiopia is a great example of where this work has been ongoing since 2022, focusing on extension and then the broader roadmap in 2024, and with the PMU stood up this year, at the beginning of this year with PXD. Kenya's story, I think, is a little bit earlier stage. We are just finishing up the roadmap now. So I'll turn it over to Hada to share more on that. Hada, over to you. You might be on mute. Hada, I think we're over to you. Oh, great. I think we are not yet able to hear you.
Hello. Okay. I think can you hear me? Sorry about that. I think because
Yes.
I was not able to connect on the laptop. But good afternoon and good morning, everyone. And thank you really for inviting me to join today's knowledge sharing event about the digital agriculture roadmap. So my name is Hada El Abed, and I work for the World Bank. I'm based in Kenya, Nairobi, and I co-lead the agriculture portfolio in Kenya. So I'm very pleased to share some elements of the government of Kenya's digital agriculture roadmap. In this presentation, I will cover the rationale, the process, some of the key priorities that are emerging, and the expected outcomes. And this is just a preview. The official launch will take place later by the Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock Development. So before proceeding, I just wanted to acknowledge that I will be speaking on behalf of a large team that supported the government of Kenya to develop this roadmap. And this team includes the World Bank and the Gates Foundation, and the technical expert is the BCG team, represented by Sonia, Tom, and other colleagues connected. So first, next slide, please. In terms of motivation, why Kenya needs a roadmap? As you know, agriculture is really the backbone of Kenya's economy, with over half of Kenyans working in agriculture. And also agriculture contributes to roughly a third of the GDP and more than half of the exports of the country. Yet the sector faces constraints in terms of productivity, limited value addition, and an aging farmer population. And in this context, as Sonia mentioned earlier, digital technologies really offer a powerful lever to accelerate agricultural transformation by boosting productivity, improving market linkages, and enabling farmers to access technologies. At the same time, we know that Kenya is a global and regional leader in data and digital, with the broad mobile coverage. In fact, senior leadership from the ministry mentions about the rates of connection rather than the rate of lack of connection to mobile phones. Also, Kenya has proven platforms like M-Pesa and foundational assets such as the Farmer Registry, which includes now about 7 million farmers, and the big data platform under the Kenya Agriculture and Livestock Research Institute. Next slide. So despite this readiness, there are several efforts across the government and the private sector, several pilots from different partners as well, and the private sector, but they are not very well coordinated. The digital roadmap aims to address this challenge by aligning the different standards, setting the priorities, and also crowding in finance in a context where development resources are reduced to scale the solutions, inclusive solutions for farmers. Next slide. So now to talk about the process for creating the roadmap. This was a very intense 6-month consultation process, as colleagues from the partnership could attest to. More than 90 organizations across the public, private, and social sectors were engaged to ensure that there is broad representation. And the engagement took multiple forms. There were 3 high-level roundtables to frame the vision and priorities, 9 subject matter working group sessions to deep dive into technical areas, and a series of targeted one-on-one consultations to tackle operational realities and context-specific insights. This approach ensured that diverse perspectives were captured and triangulated. And all this input was used to inform the roadmap, to test the assumptions, refine the different solutions, and use an iterative process to shape the final design of the roadmap. Next slide, please. So in terms of timeline, as you see in this graph, the journey began in 2024 with major roundtables and technical working group engagements until 2025. And these working groups engaged with data partners, solution providers, and impact partners to design and complete this roadmap. In August, senior management at the Ministry of Agriculture refined the vision and priorities. And now the next step is to launch. And the plan is to launch it by the ministry in the first quarter of 2026, with implementation running through 2 major phases. The first one focuses on scaling foundational digital tools and public infrastructure. And the second phase will scale to solutions to build a connected, resilient farming system. And beyond 2035, the vision is to build a digitally transformed, well-coordinated sector that empowers farmers and pastoralists with inclusive digital solutions. And this timeline really reflects a consultative process that ensured that the roadmap is robust, inclusive, and ready to deliver solutions at scale. Next slide, please. So now let's start with the vision. The vision for the roadmap is to empower Kenyan farmers and pastoralists through inclusive digital solutions that are built through public-private collaboration and unlocked by artificial intelligence and digital public infrastructure. The goal is to drive productivity, resilience, and sustainable growth across the sector. Next slide, please. And to achieve this vision, the digital roadmap, through this intensive consultation process, identified 5 solution areas for the first phase. I will just focus on the first phase. The first solution area is around advisory and extension, and it aims to leverage technology to provide real-time information, best practices, and personalized guidance to farmers for improved agricultural outcomes. The second solution targets financial services and aims to create tailored solutions and services to expand access to affordable credit, saving, and insurance. The third solution is on pricing and markets, with the development of trusted digital market platforms to enable real-time price information and better connections between buyer and sellers. And this would include digital contract farming platforms and traceability with plot mapping to access premium markets. The fourth solution is supply chains. It's about traceability and tracking tools to guarantee timely delivery of quality inputs and produce, and also eventually enable access to higher value markets. And finally, the agriculture intelligence layer aims to empower government with real-time data-driven insight by integrating all the fragmented datasets and applying sophisticated analytics to guide farming, planning, policy, and resource allocation. Next slide, please. The third element of the digital roadmap is the digital stack. And this is the stack that underpins the solutions. It is the system that brings together the tools, data, technology that are needed to make these solutions work. And the roadmap organizes it into 3 layers: the data and content layer. And for this layer, the stakeholders prioritize 2 major datasets: the farmer registry, and the roadmap proposes to expand the registry, to improve the quality of the records, to increase the trust, and link this registry with the national identity system. And this registry would remove duplicates, create trusted digital identities, which will form the basis for efficient service delivery, such as the subsidies, fertilizer subsidies, and vaccination. And the second data set is the soil map, and the roadmap proposes to turn the soil information system into a single open platform to collect, manage, and share all the data relevant to soil health. The second layer of this digital stack is the integration layer, which is national digital infrastructure that would be called AgriStack. And AgriStack will securely connect all the fragmented systems, and it will introduce a central trust function for farmer identity and consent. The third layer is the AI advisory quality framework. And under this framework, the digital roadmap proposes a framework to ensure that the services provided and advice provided by AI are accurate, contextualized, and inclusive. And the aim is very simple, is to build trust in the digital recommendations, and also to position Kenya as a leader in safe, responsible use of AI in agriculture. Next slide, please. So the final component is, of course, the enabling environment. And here there are 2 key critical parts of the enabling environment. The first is around governance and policy. And the first phase prioritizes 2 initiatives under this governance and policy. The first one is about expanding data governance. And to do that, the roadmap aims to have a legally enforceable framework that defines rights, roles, and responsibilities across the entire agricultural data life cycle. And the second, the critical one, is to establish the digital agriculture unit to really anchor the roadmap, to deliver it, to deliver the activities defined by the roadmap, and to also align national and county efforts and track impact via digital dashboard. And I will talk later at a separate stage about this digital agriculture unit because it is now existing and it's called CADIC, which is a major achievement that will ensure that all the actions around the digital agriculture space are well coordinated. The second component of the enabling environment is around human capital. And in the first phase, there were two investment areas that were identified, and they are around the digital literacy for farmers, which would be achieved through expanding access to training, technical support, and investments that enhance the digital literacy of farmers. And the second component of this human capital layer is digital skills for youth, training and placement to equip the youth with the digital and entrepreneurial skills needed to agri-tech innovation and job creation. And this is a very important aspect, since as we saw earlier, the farmer population is aging with an average age of about 60, and attracting youth is a national priority as well for Kenya. Next slide. So as I said earlier, one element of the enabling environment for DAR is having a unit that's really spearheading the digital roadmap, but also digital agriculture and data in general. This unit is really central to the successful delivery of the entire roadmap. And the Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock Development is really keen on the digital agriculture roadmap. And they have designated the Agriculture Information Resource Center, which is an institution that exists since 1960, but is now transitioning into the Kenya Agricultural Digital Information Center, CADIC, as an institution that will anchor digital agriculture roadmap implementation, and more importantly, the sector-wide digital hub for agriculture. And I believe I saw key members of CADIC in the chat. So I wish that if there are questions, they can be the one answering them about CADIC. In addition, CADIC will consolidate data from several parastatal agencies. There were more than 30 of them, and provide a unified real-time insight on market information and data and digital services. Also, Digital Agriculture Roadmap has been instrumental and is feeding into AgriConnect, which is a global initiative by the World Bank, which Kenya is the first runner, among the first runner country with other countries in Africa. Kenya has been spearheading this initiative as well, and has prioritized value chains, about 8 value chains, and set out a very ambitious target to transform the agriculture sector through these prioritized value chains to generate more and better jobs and to reduce food and nutrition security by 2030. And the roadmap provides the foundational investments that will allow AgriConnect to achieve its impact. And the fact that it has been designed at the same time as AgriConnect is allowing really the full synergies and full embeddedness into the AgriConnect compact. Next slide. Of course, since the digital roadmap is about an investment plan, a policy plan, it's important to quantify the return on investment. And so the first phase, which is running from 2026 to 2029, as we said earlier, will build the foundation for better services for farmers and a broader sector transformation. And the roadmap targets critical measurable targets at the national level. The first one is scale and trust in farmer data, with the goal of having 9 million very high quality farming and pastoralist households registered with their information verified regularly. The second one is to have smarter services with 3.6 million households, half of them women, actively using AI-enabled advice and digital credit, and 3.6 of them receiving digital services that raise their annual income by at least 20%. And the third goal is around finance and markets, with about $174 million in annual loans to first-time borrowers, with default reduced by 30%, roughly $180 million in new investment mobilized from the government, private sector, and development partners, and around $100 million added each year to export value through crop and livestock traceability. And the fourth is around jobs and skills, which is critical for not only the agriculture sector strategy, the beta agenda, but also for AgriConnect. And the roadmap aims to reach 400,000 young people, 40% women, and train them in digital skills and place them in new off-farm jobs, new better jobs. Finally, the roadmap has targets in terms of improved resilience, with the aim to strengthen the government capacity to respond to food emergency with timely deployment of strategic reserves and price stabilization. Next slide. Of course, this process generated several lessons learned. The key is that the roadmap should be anchored in national priorities. It cannot be developed independently from the priorities. And for the Kenya example, the roadmap is anchored into the Vision 2030, the ASTGS, which is the agriculture strategy, and the beta agenda. This anchoring ensures that the roadmap is sustainable and owned by all the key stakeholders. And of course, the government leadership is key, and the success is conditional on the principle that the ministry is the one that leads and coordinates the roadmap, both the development and implementation. In the case of Kenya, this leadership is really strengthened and solidified by the creation of CADIC, which has been instrumental for the development of the roadmap and also now is spearheading the implementation. And of course, inclusion should be intentional. Gender and youth should be included and embedded from the beginning in the development of the roadmap. It's important to have them in mind so that the solutions are also tailored to their need. So this was a very quick overview of the roadmap. Thank you for your attention, and stay tuned for the official launch, which will take place by the Ministry of Agriculture and CADIC in the near future. Thank you very much, and over to you, Sonia.
Great. Thank you so much, Hada, for going through this. Great to have kind of the Ethiopia example as well as the Kenya example. You can see they're both quite tailored for the contexts of those two countries, and also at different stages of development. I think from here we are moving into our Q&A session. I will maybe start with some of the questions that have already been raised in the chat, and then folks can, I think, continue to add in any questions that you have. Maybe Hada and Dr. Guerin, picking up from two of the questions regarding Kenya and Ethiopia, I think there was one question that was on what are the business models that you are either have put in place or are looking at regarding digital services funding for long-term sustainability. And then the second question around, what are some of the potential challenges that you've run into around data collection and handling for data that may not be owned by the Ministry of Agriculture, for example, ID numbers. Hada or Dr. Guerin, one of you would like to go ahead.
I go first.
Please.
Okay. So regarding the data collection, it's a bit challenging, I would say. So we are lucky that the national rollout for the national ID is now going on, and even this morning we were coming out of a meeting that said 12 million farmers should be registered within 3 months. So this is one of the things we have to play around. It's not easy, but the good thing is the national ID is willing to work with us. We have already linked our database with national ID. So when we go out for data collection, we first take the biometrics for national ID, then we take the farmer information, and the deduplication will be done as a national ID, and it will be shared to us. So this is very smooth, and it is okay. The other question was regarding what was it, Sonia?
Sustainable business models.
Yeah, the business models, they differ from use case to use case. For example, if you look at the different advisory services across the developing countries, you will not find appetite for smallholder farmers to pay for advisory services. So it will be very challenging to make it a sustainable business. So in this case, it might have to go through the government processes as part of a community service of government service kind of thing. So but when you come to market linkages, it will be easier to this to be led by the private sector actors. So in this case, what we are planning to do is we are bringing together the e-commerce actors who are specifically working on agricultural commodity. Then we will make them the owners of the system that will be used. So in this case, they can use either commission or whatever other models they have to make it sustainable. So again, my answer will be it depends on the use cases to come up with a better sustainability model.
Great. Thank you so much. Yep, Hada, over to you, and
Yes.
Beryl and Tom.
No, thank you. I just wanted to add, I agree with Dr. Keteme in terms of this depends on the sustainable business model really depends on the solution. But here there are fundamental principles that are applied or envisioned as part of the roadmap. The same thing for AgriConnect, which is the role of the public sector versus the private sector. And the public sector here is really supporting the foundational investments like the Kiamis, now hosted by CADIC. The 7 million farmer registry is really an asset, a public sector asset that will enable innovation. Same thing with the soil data and also the governance framework. The enabling environment is really also the contribution of the public sector, and also additionally the public sector can support regulatory sandbox spaces for piloting innovation. But the real scale should come from the private resources. Public resources, as you know, are scarce and can be used to generate innovation, test them, and then the scale up would be done through mobilization of private capital. And the roadmap is very detailed about different business models. So we invite the audience to read those suggestions. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I know that we are unfortunately coming to the end of our time here. I'll try to address a couple of these questions, and we'll also make sure that all the panelists have the questions and the connections to specific asks and projects. I think in terms of different countries, I would encourage reaching out to Parmesh and Katerina. I know there is a long list and a short list of countries that this could potentially be deployed in. But as Stuart mentioned in chat earlier, this is really intended to be open source that anybody can pick up. We've certainly built and have a broad set of learnings. I think this idea of kind of national and ecosystem ownership is a really big lesson that we've learned to make sure that you're well set up to go from the roadmap development into implementation, of course. So we will look to answer the remaining questions that we weren't able to get to, probably in the readout that goes out afterwards. We'll share the slides and the recording as well. But I'd like to hand it over to Marianne now to close this out. Marianne, over to you.
Thank you very much, Sonia. And first, I'll start by thanking all our panelists for joining us today. Thank you very much for sharing your expertise and sharing your experience as well. This was fascinating. One thing that the discussion has underscored is how essential digital transformation is to food systems transformation, and therefore how it will affect every aspect of the lives and the businesses of the farmers that we aim to help around the world. Digital technologies can be a game changer. We've seen through the examples that were presented how they allow to move beyond standardized recommendations to provide tailored solutions to the challenges faced by each country and then by individual farmers. We saw the examples ranging from integrating weather forecasts, crop models, soil data, financial services, and so on. So really huge potential there. As many of you know, the World Bank launched in October this year, a couple of months ago, a new initiative, AgriConnect, to double down on our efforts to help millions of small farmers move up the value chain. And we see digital transformation as one of the solutions, one of the areas where we really want to scale our efforts for impact. A few takeaways from today's session. First, a clear message was that the digital agriculture roadmaps are much more than a document, right? They are practical, powerful approaches to help countries working with various stakeholders move from disjointed actions to clear coordinated action, more strategic engagement, clear vision. And they provide a clear financiable and country-led and country-owned plan to anchor digital agriculture efforts. One element that was highlighted in the cases that were presented in particular is also the importance of putting the right institutions in place and that of capacity building. As we look ahead, we look forward to, on our side, continuing to work in the countries where we are supporting the DARs, and also looking at how we can replicate the approach and tailor it to the needs of other countries, other regions, where there is demand, including using the approach to anchor our efforts on digital agriculture under the AgriConnect initiative. The approach is flexible, and it allows to create approaches that are tailored to the needs of different countries, with implementation plans for different digital use cases across different geographical units, and aligning these with the scope of AgriConnect, all guided by the priorities and the country needs. So we invite you to reach out if you would like to learn more about the DARs, how they can help and support the work that you're doing in the specific countries, whether you are a bank TTL, whether you are a funder or another development partner. We're more than happy to work with you and to share what we've learned. The DAR for Ethiopia is available. I see that we have shared on screen the code for that. Excellent. As well as the DAR Playbook. And you also have the contacts there of our team, Parmesh and Katerina, who have been leading that effort. So please do not hesitate to reach out. We really see those tools as engines to help transform agriculture in country and for farmers and for food systems globally. And with this, thank you again for your participation today and for your efforts in advancing digital agriculture.
Thank you, Marianne. I think with that, we will wrap here. Sorry we weren't able to get to all the questions, but we will definitely note those. And I just want to thank again all of our speakers and panelists and team members for sharing more on their experiences today and all the important work that's gone into developing and these roadmaps and in going into implementation in both these countries. Thank you all, and thank the audience for your interest in this.